Now. Hello, I am Tony Sixwing here with Sixwing Productions with my co-host Laura Quinton. Welcome back to the Overtime Podcast, the podcast of two crazy people talking about random shit that nobody watches. Except now it says we have two concurrent viewers.
And I'm not watching, so we must.
We must. If you view, make sure to say hi to us. Welcome. And fuck the news stations and all their hyperbole. And they have pissed me off over the last week by deciding to say that World War III is going to happen, and it never did. Because nobody wanted it. Other than apparently the news. So, as most of you would know, Trump ordered, I believe, the week before this last week, the killing of Soleimani. We talked about it last week on the show. And he had just attacked our embassy, which is an act of war. But despite the fact that Trump did nothing more than take him out, even after we were hit by rockets, which apparently the Iranians warned us firsthand, the Speaker Pelosi decided that she needed to get a War Powers Act passed to limit Trump's ability to use the military, even though he was not ramping up to use it. So push the narrative that we're about to have to go to war when no one was ever talking about going to war. Don't you just love politics in the media?
I don't.
But yeah, no. Or then we got this whole thing. You remember a few weeks ago that church in Texas that had that shooting?
No.
No?
I don't have TV at my place.
Oh, but you heard about Iran.
Yeah, because my fun story, guys. So my group chat, it was 7 a.m. in the morning, the day that people were talking about it or some shit. And basically, and our group chat is called Trivia. So you would think we'd talk about, hey, we're going to trivia tonight, whatever, or hey, this event's happening, government politics. That's what they talked about at 7 a.m. in the morning. I woke up to it, and I was like, what the heck?
Okay, I have found it here. CNN reported here, in Texas on December 29th, Sunday, a man walked into a church and shot two people before one of the parishioners shot him and killed him. And the news decided to vilify the good guy with the gun because we need to get rid of guns, don't you know?
Which is stupid.
Well, you see, their whole narrative is that it causes more harm than good, but this guy stopped this mass shooting in less than 30 seconds. The police take 15 minutes on average to get anywhere. And
yes.
And honest cops will tell you, get a firearm. And in Virginia, they're trying to essentially grab everyone's guns, and many of the sheriffs there are refusing to enforce the new law.
If you live out in the middle of nowhere, it takes even longer. So our friend, the redneck, and his then girlfriend at the time got into a fight, and it took legitimately half an hour to an hour for the police to show up because they lived in the middle of goddamn nowhere.
And in some places, the cops are worse than the bad guys, so you end up not calling the cops.
And the cops did nothing. The cops drove him to his house. That's what they did.
Yeah, that's about it. Remember, people, the cops can only investigate after you've been killed. Cops don't stop crime. And I hate to say it, I don't think the guy who's going to go kill someone is going to be so worried about killing them with an illegal weapons charge on top of the homicide.
I feel like if someone really wanted to kill someone, a gun is not what you should be worried about. People can murder people other ways.
Well, in Britain, there's a massive amount of stabbings, especially honor-killing stabbings of the unregulated Middle Eastern Muslim immigrants against gay people. right
I
now.
mean, if you really want to harm someone, I mean,
Well, we kill each
I don't
other.
know.
We kill each other with swords, bows and arrows, and all that for thousands of years before anyone ever invented a gun. Humans kill each
Yeah.
other. It's a nasty, horrible part of life. But it's just the news and the media seem to always want to put everything into a darker, more serious light, always reporting on bad news, make you feel like the world's ending every other day. I've got a little sister who gets freaked out every other time something happens because the media has to flood even people who don't watch the news's YouTube and Facebook feeds with all this hyperbolic bullshit and freak everyone out.
Yeah, basically.
Now, I said it before on this podcast, I am not a fan of Trump. I will give him credit when credit's due. Shit, I would give Nixon credit when credit's due, and he's usually what we declare as the worst president, even though that whole thing, I think, comes from, more as evil incarnation of Futurama than anything else. But the media has to hate on Trump and make everything sound worse because they don't like him. Here's the thing. Al Pacino, a quote from Al Pacino, never hate your enemies. It affects your judgment. And what that means is, if you get emotionally involved in something, let's say, we say Orange Man bad. So we cannot judge him based on his actual actions. And on the flip side, back when Obama was in office, and yeah, when the Democrats say, he needs to stop making fun of Obama's administration, Obama never stopped blaming his economy on Bush. So every president has blamed the previous president for the crap and saying that I'm still dealing with the last guy's bullshit.
That's basically everyone ever. I mean, heck, if I'm sure there's some person that still blames Washington.
Oh no shit. And, the news and the media also have to revise history, saying we're making it more perfect, because they have to say how bad people actually were, the whole, hey, Washington actually owned slaves, and Abraham Lincoln might have been a racist even though he didn't support slavery, and all this stuff.
A lot of slave owners were actually African American. People don't realize that.
Well, it was Africans in Africa who sold the original slaves to the white man.
Right.
But the point is this. The reason we look at history on a more positive light than try to say how everyone was equally bad is because when we try to aspire to the good aspects of these people and make heroes, gives us something to aspire to, something to live up to. And in this age of revisionist history where everything has to be exactly perfect in history, and yes, we need to make sure that the huge mistakes are accurately reported so we don't repeat them, sacrificing all the heroes of history because they did some bad things isn't a good idea. I mean, we all know Christopher Columbus and the conquistadors weren't that great. We all know America broke every treaty with the Native Americans. We all know all this stuff. But when people say, we need to fix it, I want to say, how are you going to fix it? Well, we're going to do this, we're going to do that. Okay, but then who are we going to give the land back to? One guy once said, because the natives were conquering each other, just like we did in Europe. It wasn't a new thing. I mean, some of them were more peaceful than we were, but seriously, they just weren't as industrialized about it. No matter where you go, civilizations have warred with each other for religious, economic, resource reasons. And then you go back on the same count, they say, we took this from them, so we need to give it back. But then those same people, well, at least some of them, not all, obviously, will say that, Israel needs to give up all its land to the Islamic people, except for the fact that Hebrews predate Islam and Christianity by several thousand years. So why can't the people in Israel keep it? I mean, they won it by a right of conquest in the 6-Day War, you know? But the media's got to demonize everybody that they don't want to help.
Yep.
The real thing is, history is insanely complicated. We need some heroes in history, and the news wants to say there are no heroes. And the news has a agenda. And I hate to say it, even the right-wing news has an agenda. Every news organization has an agenda. But what I was saying was, um, like what I said, the left in the news now wants to completely demonize Trump all the time. What was the right wing in the news doing to Obama during all 8 years of his administration?
Exactly. Like, I think of all the things that Trump has done. I don't agree with every single thing, but I didn't agree with every single thing that Obama had. Like, shit, his wife was the reason why they took away salt shakers when I was in high school. There's just many things that all the presidents have done that, people
His
are not
wife also starved the football players.
right. Well, I didn't know about that, but
Yeah, she went on calorie counting for people because people don't understand calories, and the government decided to do one size fits all and limited school lunches to so many calories. So all the athletes were starving because an athlete, you see, me, I work a physically intensive job 8 hours a day, so I burn about 2,600 calories. Athletes can burn quite 2 to 3 times that a day. So they didn't take that into account. Let's make our kids healthier. This is why government should not be in our nutrition.
I agree. They shouldn't be.
But then we also have the news that says all this stuff about poor versus rich. And yeah, it's a more complicated topic than anything else. I mean, everything is a complicated topic because as soon as you start saying, hey, we got to tax the rich more, well, they earn their stuff. So should I tax you more too? What's actually fair? Yes, they should be paying people more because the economics are going to say that eventually the whole thing will collapse if you keep all the money on the top. That's what happened during the Great Depression. Well, combined with other things, obviously. It wasn't just one thing. One thing never... It's never just one thing in the world. However, what I think I'm trying to get at is, we learned a long time ago that capitalism by itself does not work. Now, the right would love to do pure capitalism. We know that doesn't work. The left wants to go back to communism, and that collapsed violently, and is why most of Eastern Europe is still failed states, and Russia is still a crap hole. I mean, have you seen images of Russia and Russian vehicles? They're not very well kept, and a lot of their society is hooked on drugs. And Venezuela did socialism or communism, communist socialism, and now they can't afford baby formula and toilet paper.
Wow.
Yeah, neither system works on its own. You have to combine the two in a logical, rational way. Because by adding a little bit of socialism, you create a social safety net that keeps you from having a huge population of homeless people. And by encouraging some free market aspects, you allow for growth in the economy to fund that welfare state. But you have to make sure not to take so much that it's to the point that the guy at the top might as well join the welfare state because you took so much of what he earned. The idea needs to be that you hit a basic level and you have to go above this. And quite frankly, I think, because we do also have a problem with people in Section 8 housing destroying the homes. We do have a problem with some people that shouldn't be on disability. I have mixed feelings on the clamping down on disability benefits by the government.
I'm mixed on it as well because, like, I look at food stamps and there's, like, people who, like, sell their food stamps for drugs or they buy things that are, like, really shitty and it's not for their kids. It's, like, soda and shit like that. And, like, I'm on the fence on how I feel about it because, like, I see both sides of it, kind of.
It's called being a centrist, Laura. You're conflicted about everything because you realize it is not that simple. But here's one thing. I heard about one story. This gal claimed she had. I heard a story about a gal, guy named Darren Clary that I listened to, and I listened to a couple of his books on audio. Good books. If you guys ever get the ability to, you guys need to go and either read or listen to Enjoy the Decline and Bachelor Pad Economics and The Curse of the High IQ. But in Enjoy the Decline, he said he was teaching ballet dancing, ballroom dancing, and this one young gal, nothing else wrong with her, claimed she was depressed and couldn't work, but she was out traveling, taking ballroom dancing lessons and all this stuff while getting disability checks. Now, I do believe that that is a minority of cases. You know, that is a minority of cases, and there's a lot of people that I think should definitely be on disability but chose to stay off it because they still could force themselves to work and made more working than they would on disability checks. So I can get the adding you have to have more doctor's appointments and stuff like that. And if you're on disability, typically you're on Medicaid, so the more doctor's appointments isn't that completely hard. Now, I'd have to look more into it to verify what's going on, and some people that are on disability are losing it. But then again, we did start to see a lot of people that shouldn't even qualify need to just nut up and go get a job, and they were qualifying for disability. So, but when the government ever tries to crack down on something, they tend to overreach and crack down and kick too many people out of a system. You know?
Yeah.
I mean,
I feel like there's a very small percentage of people that are like perfectly able to work and are on disability. Unfortunately, some of that small percentage are people that I know, but I feel like for the most part, people on disability, deserve to be on it.
oh yeah, so we do need to fix the problem of people who don't deserve to be on it being on it, because it does create an encouragement, because we can all see where more and more laziness and wanting to just get a government check, whether it be Medicaid, food stamps, a welfare check, Section 8 housing, all that, is caused some people because, quite frankly, the wage stagnation has pushed people to realize, hey, I can get more out of the government by taking a lower wage job and living in Section 8 housing and have a better life than if I actually try, because even if I try, I'm going to be stuck where I can't afford to live, but I make too much to get aid from the government.
Which is crazy to think about. This was actually from one of my friends who's on disability. And I had said, oh, well, why don't you work at so-and-so place? And they were saying, oh, well, I work at this one job and I'm not allowed to make X amount of money because then, said funds get garnished from the disability check. So she was quite clearly saying, I think she actually quoted, why would I work more hours and get paid less? Which is, logically, why would you do that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's problems like that we need to solve. This kick everyone off, close this loophole, is not solving the problem. It just throws more people on the street. And then you have places like California that's insanely liberal, that every time we actually start getting people off the streets, they throw more people onto the streets with government policies against those tiny homes that were on those wheels and all this stuff. And they won't let you build new buildings. They call it gentrification. So the homeless white community can't come in because they don't want to mix them with the African American or the Hispanic community. And I hate to tell you guys, hey, African American community, Hispanic community, time to mix with each other and everyone. We're a melting pot of a country. Saying I don't want any white people in my neighborhood is just as racist as me saying I don't want any black or Latino people in my neighborhood. Racism is hatred based on skin color or race. It does not care about minority status. That is not the definition. And because of these types of concerns, there's a lot of homeless people in California, especially in San Francisco and LA, that could be given homes, and you could bring down the cost of housing. But because of government corruption, the desire for these liberals do usually get the poorer communities vote, because the way our system is set up. And yes, the left perpetuates the system to get more votes because when you're poor and you don't see any way out other than government intervention, who are you going to vote for? You're going to vote for the big government guy who wants to spend more money on you. So there was no interest in solving the problem because then you can't promise to solve the problem and then get elected to do that. So you perpetuate the problem in order to stay in office. Both sides do this.
Mm-hmm.
And it's insane. One thing I remember from when I was a kid. Have you ever listened to the I Have a Dream speech?
Yes.
So you remember the part where the content of his not the color of his skin, but the content of his character?
Mm-hmm.
Well, it seems the media and the news like to really focus on people's color of their skin. Why do we need to even mention the fact that a kid was African American or Latino or white when they died? Why not just say a 16-year-old died from getting murdered today in this neighborhood?
That'd be too easy.
That is how you end racism, though. You forget that race exists. And I think I've told you this before, but for me, someone's skin color or race is a descriptor just like their hair color or eye color that I tell to the police because I'm trying to describe the kind of guy who just robbed my ass. And that's about it. Granted, there are some medical differences between different ethnicities due to genetics and whatnot. There's different predispositions based on family history. So, hey. But trying to identify ourselves like this, like people, you see, I have noticed that there's a lot of the left's people who are African American identify themselves a lot like a lot of their gay people. Like, I'm gay, I'm African American. But it's like, why can't you just say you're you? Why do you have to be a part of a group?
I feel like services and products and shit, like when they ask specifically for your race, when it's something that like you don't need to know that information, I feel like just makes things worse. Like you're taking a standardized test and you have to put your race down. Like why does that matter?
It doesn't. But remember, identity politics and racial politics are the only way that they can keep the infighting going so that it keeps screwing us over. Because remember, we won against the communists. The Soviet Union's gone. The terrorists are mostly contained. So the only way they have to keep us fighting amongst ourselves to stop pointing the fingers at each other is pointing to race, social class, and everything else so that we don't pay attention as they screw us over from Washington.
Yep.
Like the news likes to call illegal immigrants undocumented workers. They came here illegally. You know who AOC is, right?
No.
Cortez, that idiot New York representative, young gal.
No.
Well, anyways, one time she goes to the former head of ICE, Immigration Customs Enforcement. Now, a lot of people don't like ICE, and a lot of people say, oh, illegal immigrants aren't stealing jobs, but then we had all those chicken factories that found actual American citizens to work as soon as all the illegals were taken out. So, yeah, they are. Granted, I think everyone should have a chance and whatnot, and if we really want to solve the illegal immigration issue, what we really need to do is help to stabilize the country south of our border instead of focusing so much on the Middle East, which is on the other side of the world. But, that being said, she tells him that it's not illegal to seek asylum. Why are you separating children from their families? Except those people chose to come here illegally. They chose to come here drag their families here illegally, and they chose not to try to come to a port of entry to seek asylum. Because seriously, all they needed to do was go up to the border entry and say, hey, I'm here to seek asylum. and the process gets started. So you have to wonder, what the hell? And actually, I think our country is one of the only countries that actually gives people the chance to go back without being deported and be put on as long as they haven't broken any other laws, and be put on an expedited list to get a visa to be here legally if they have shown that they are actually adding to a society and haven't, been criminals and whatnot.
Right.
So we are extremely lenient on illegal immigrants. If you illegally immigrate to Mexico, you're going to get shot or you're going to get tossed in a very harsh prison cell.
Similar to if you try to leave a place such as Korea.
Exactly. America is one of the only countries that we are actually quite humane with our illegal immigrants. Though they say, the cages and holding pins and whatnot, it's like, well, we have this many people coming across the border. Where else are we going to put them? Like one person said, we could just donate everything to feed the hungry. I try to tell them, well, we gotta find a way to do it economically because everything costs money. And they said, no, everything could be donated. Here's the thing. The guy on the oil well, still has to be paid. So this guy on the tanker and the guy at the refinery to create the good to give to the farmer to fuel everything to grow the food. And the farmer still has to get paid. I mean, even if he donates all the food, he still had to pay for the fuel. Because people have to live themselves. So, at the minimum, transportation and production costs had to be eaten by somebody.
Right.
Nothing is ever completely free. Now, automation may make most things completely free to produce eventually. That's why we need to start moving away from money as an economic system. But then we have that Yang for 2020. Who wants to do that universal basic income? You heard about that one?
No.
He wants to give every adult in the United States $1,000 a month. Just give it to him from the government. You want to know the problem with that?
What?
There are, let's just see here, how many adults in America Well, I know we have about 330 million people in the U.S. Okay.
Right.
So, now, 100 million times 1,000. Now, 1,000 times, 100 times 1,000 is, well, let's see here. Well, 100 times 1,000 is 100,000. So we're looking at $100 billion, so $300 billion per month. That's times 12 months. So you're looking at probably, and I'm probably actually underestimating this, but you're looking at $300 billion, because 300 million times 1,000 is going to be, okay, so $300 billion per month times 12 months, that's $3.6 trillion per year. That would mean we would have to double the amount of money coming into the government just to pay this universal basic income.
So, how are they suggesting that this money be attained?
They want to take they want to create wealth tax and everything else, which essentially, it's tax. A wealth tax is nothing but taxing you on shit you already own. Like, let's say you own a car outright, right? Well, your car, because it has value, that's part of your net worth. Your net worth is everything you own minus your debts and the money in your bank. Everything you own plus money in your bank minus your debts. So I have about $1,000 in the bank right now, and about 57K in debt. So I have a net worth of negative $56,000.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if you're a very wealthy person with no debts and say you have a couple $1 million homes, well, you have a net worth in the millions, but those homes don't necessarily generate any income. You just own them. Now, you're already paying property tax on those, which essentially outlaws private property. Property tax, because of that, is against the spirit of our nation, but that's for another podcast. But the way a wealth tax works is you now have to pay to the government equal to so much of your net worth. Except most people only have a fraction of the net worth in liquidatable and usable funds. The rest of it's tied up in investments and other money that they cannot get to quickly, but the government wants to tax them on it. So now you got to sell half your homes to pay the taxes on all of them. Except you can't sell those very quickly and not for what you need for the taxes. So essentially, building that up becomes no longer desired, and you don't want to make as much money. So people don't try to make so much money, so they can avoid the wealth tax. So it encourages people to work less hard and make less income, which hurts the economy altogether in the long run. Granted, a lot of that wealth they shouldn't be keeping in these homes. They should be buying products, paying employees more so we can move it around the economy, because all that is hoarding wealth, and that doesn't help anybody. It just sits there. And a lot of the money up at top just moves between each other. It doesn't actually go through the whole economy. However, with that being said, encouraging people to not create wealth hurts everybody. Because when someone's trying to create their own wealth, they'll invest stuff in order to make money. And a lot of the time, that investment becomes jobs. And while you may think that it's not a job worth having, I know people who had 3 part-time jobs and they were thankful to have those jobs. Because they needed them. So there is no such thing as a job that's not worth having. A job that's not worth having to you, don't get that job. Yes, we need to pay people more. I am still totally behind the $15 an hour minimum wage. But now they're looking at wanting to do a $33 an hour minimum wage. That'll destroy the entire economy. That's putting everyone at like a $60,000 to $100,000 a year income.
And then everything else just jumps up. So then the rent that we cheaply pay, that's about $750, will be about $3,000 to $4,000.
Exactly.
Because if everyone's making a shit ton of money, then everything else is going to skyrocket in order to balance it out.
And we will be in this exact same situation. Not to mention the amount of inflation forcing many people to get that much money would cause. Because remember, there's only a limited amount of money to go around. If you force people to make more money, you have to add more money into the system so that it's there to give to people.
Right.
So you end up inflating and devaluing your currency.
And I am a proponent for the $15 an hour wage because personally, with what a lot of people make, $15 is not out of the realm of what people make. Especially in Michigan. They probably make like 10 or 11 most places, so you're not jumping a shit ton. If you go to 33, then you're like, well, shit, what do we pay like the people that need degrees and stuff? Like, what do doctors make at that point? What are engineers making? Because engineers are probably making about $33 right now, maybe less.
Actually, they're making about 20, if they're lucky. We do need to have 2 minimum wages. Well, 3. 1 minimum wage for teenage workers. You know, a starting wage. Shit, it can be what it is now, that $9, $7.25, whatever. They're teenagers in high school. They don't need to make a lot of money. But as soon as you're 18, that needs to jump to 15. And then if you have to have a degree for your job, we need to require people to pay their people a minimum of $30 an hour, because I think 4 years of a college degree and tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in cost and debt should equal at least double what a no degree job or minimum wage would be. And there are jobs out there right now that require a degree and years of experience, and you make maybe $2 more an hour than minimum wage with years of experience, and you're required to have a degree. That is what's keeping our economy from booming like it should. Because, hate to tell you, GDP and the stock market are not a good indicator of the economy.
Right.
Because
Because as it stands, actually, people are saying that unemployment is the lowest percentage that it's ever been. But a lot of people don't realize that, in the grand scheme of things, people are having to work 2, 3, 4 jobs because you see all these places go slow at around this time. Like this time is the worst for retail. So people are stuck getting these 2 or 3 jobs. They're not making significantly more. It's just that they need these jobs in order to get the same amount of hours as they were when it was the busiest time because they need that money to stay afloat. That doesn't mean that the economy is a lot better.
okay, this one job I found, and I would never work for these people. I worked for them for 2 years, or 2 days, I mean, because they lied to me about. And that's another thing. A lot of employers lie about stuff, and they just hire everyone that comes in the door. They're offering $13.50 an hour, but it's not a steady paycheck. It's an on-call job, and a lot of those jobs, good luck getting a second job. But once you go down to press operator for injection molding, $11 an hour. $11 or $12 an hour. GM's hiring in my area at $16.67, but those are indefinite temporary positions. But then you go back and you keep getting $10 an hour, $12.50 to $12.75. You get all these jobs, and a lot of them don't even post what you make, $13.50, and the ones that don't post what you make, I mean, I found this one. It says technician 15 an hour. Requirements: driver's license, able to submit pre-employment check, must have own tools.
Oh, wow.
So yeah, must be able to open to local travel. So this is a job that pays you $15 an hour. It looks like it's by the job. You have to go there with your own vehicle, your own stuff, and you're essentially a subcontractor. So you don't even. So they'll pay you 15 an hour, but you're probably going to make the equivalent of about 8 or 9 once you get all together. So all these companies are pushing off the cost of operation onto the employee and paying them shit wages, and then people will say, oh, but unemployment's so low. But the people only make the equivalent of $9 an hour. If they're lucky.
Right.
And that's a recipe for depression. Because if no one can afford to live, no one can afford to buy luxury goods, and luxury goods are what drive any economy. So yeah, that's what I think. I stand on pretty good grounds with that. Now, one thing I will give the president credit for is that he's not accepting a paycheck.
Yeah, I give him that.
So he's trying. I think the worst thing about Trump is he is not well spoken. He puts his foot in his mouth a lot, and I would never call him a good public speaker. Because he kind of sounds cliched, It's going to be awesome. We're going to respond very strongly. It's like, and he stutters a lot too. That's one thing I would give the left. Trump is not a well-spoken person, but all these other well-spoken people They're some of the most corrupt, despicable motherfuckers ever. I mean, you look at Hillary and Michael Moore, and they call if you're white and male, you're automatically labeled as racist by what you're born with. I thought that was considered racist. Or
See, he's like a very impulsive person, especially on any form of social media. And I think that's where a lot of problems happen, especially when it comes to his image.
yeah, he's not a very good politician, and to be quite honest, he's not necessarily a very good businessman. I mean, how many times did he file bankruptcy?
Yes.
But he does at least understand reality, or at least seems to. You know, the reality of, hey, on the international stage, the person with the biggest stick is going to win. It's time we show people we have the biggest stick. Hey, there's a lot of good people coming over the border who really could just come in here legally, but don't. Uh, but we also have criminals coming over the border, so we need to secure it. And the left goes, well, you're trying to keep families out and blah, blah. It's like, no. Because the minute that one person dies due to something that came over illegally over the border with an illegal immigration crossing, we should secure the border. I mean, how do you think those how do you think the gangs in America get the drugs out of the South America and all that to sell on our streets? Illegal immigration. They use it to send reinforcements from the cartels up here. To send them the military-grade firearms.
We do have a bad drug problem.
The drug war was a failure. Anytime you make something people like or want illegal, you create a black market, which creates a criminal underbelly. And quite frankly, the criminal aspects of these neighborhoods have decided that the Latino and African American community must call this their culture in order to get away with not acting like decent human beings. And a lot of the problem in Africa is the fact that colonialism and a lot of stuff screwed over the area so much. And the Cold War and proxy wars, a lot of the problem in the unstable parts of the world right now is because of America and the Soviet Union fighting proxy wars in other countries, communism versus capitalism. You know, keep the communists out, we're going to prop up a warlord. Hey, the government just failed. Now we got Somali pirates. So, you know, it's a lot of a mixture of things. And actually, charity actually hurts a lot of these places more than it helps, because when we send them a bunch of free food and free shirts, the local farmer and local shirt maker can't sell anything because the charities brought in a bunch of free shit, so their local economy can't improve, so they're stuck being poor.
Right, like I will say that the places that have like big issues when it comes to, like, say Australia, I can see that being a place that needs aid, like really, really badly.
Oh yeah, but the thing is, the aid should be to help them get back on their feet, not keep feeding them. There's a reason they say don't feed wild animals, because they become dependent and can't feed themselves. You know, give a man a fish, he'll eat for a day, teach a man a fish, he'll eat for a lifetime. What we should be doing is, like, we have this drug problem, cartel problem in South America, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then why in the hell are we over getting embroiled in the Middle East when we need those hundreds of thousands of troops to really flood South America and Central America and flush out the cartels? Seriously, if we're going to invade someone because of terrorist activity, Central and South America be the prime place, because I hate to say it, but gangs and cartels are terrorists. Terrorism.
What are we doing in Italy is my question.
We're in Italy?
Yes.
Since when?
Since like a couple of years ago. That's where our Air Force have one of their bases.
Oh, Oh, we have. That's one of our European bases that's there to. Here's the thing, Laura. Any country that we fight a war with, we put a military base in once we defeat them. So we've got a base in Italy and Germany because of World War II.
But it's like in the middle of nowhere.
It's an Air Force base. It's also meant to be a help defend Europe against Soviet aggression or Russian aggression.
Oh.
Yeah, that stuff. European bases are just there to be there as a jumping off point for other operations. And we have it there with the permission of the local government.
So they're there in case shit happens.
Yeah, it's an in case shit kind of thing.
Okay.
Like we have a military base in Japan.
Right.
Because we defeated them in World War II, and in case shit happens.
Because my one old coworker who is stationed in Italy, I was like saying, oh, I hope you like don't see combat. This was like way before like talk of World War III and crap like that, and he was like, well, gee, I hope I don't have to see combat either, or something like that. Because he was in Korea, not like North Korea, but he was in South Korea, and then they moved him to Italy.
Yeah, well, they're always at a high state of alert in South Korea, but because North Korea knows we could kick their ass, it's actually one of the safer assignments in the military. But beyond that, I still have to ask why we're in the Middle East screwing with shit when we have on our own continent issues that could use military intervention. To be quite honest, the Middle East is pretty much contained. And Russia and China will never go to war with us. There is too much to lose on both sides.
Right, like China, like their economy, like we're one of their biggest customers. We
are their biggest customer. If they can't export stuff to the U.S., their entire economy will collapse. So China is not going to go to war with us.
I don't think we would magically make all our shit, though.
No. The U.S. and China are, at this point, in an inseparable relationship almost. They lend our government money to support our welfare state, and our people buy their shit. It kind of keeps both afloat at the moment. So really, all the military posturing between each other in neutral territory, like international waters, it's just posturing. There's never going to be a shooting war. There's too much to lose. Far too much to lose on both sides. Guess what? When no one wants war, there's not going to be a war. Because nobody wants it. And in the event of war with North Korea, there's a good chance that Russia and China would side with us against them. Due to the crap they've been pulling. Same thing with Iran. And the whole reason that Russia has supported the Syrian and Iranian government, because even despite their atrocities against other people, human rights violations, is because when we took out Saddam Hussein, we destabilized the Middle East. Insanely. And what happened was, Russia and China started to feel threatened that these terrorist and extremist groups, which are over their border and just on the other side of Turkey or India, would spread and attack their countries. Here in America, they gotta get here by boat or plane. Russia, they just have to walk. Or drive a vehicle. So Russia is trying to stabilize the region because it's on its doorstep. Even if it has to do some bad things to do so. And the whole reason Iran mostly wants nukes is because Pakistan and India both have nukes. So does China and Russia, and Turkey has the nukes we gave them, and so does Israel. Iran really wants power parity with its neighbors. That's what they want. They're not stupid enough to actually start a nuclear war. Nobody is. No matter how belligerent you are. Kim Jong-un has a nuclear bomb. He has missiles that can drop it in South Korea and Japan. He hasn't fired yet. Obviously, he likes having them for political gain, but isn't ever actually going to use them. If he was, he would have done it by now. You know?
Right. He would have.
Exactly. At this point in history, though we are not living in the most peaceful civil time in history, terrorists, civil unrest, and all that stuff, on the international stage, we are living in one of the most peaceful times in human history. There are no major international wars going on right now. The worst thing that happens is some rockets getting fired at each other's bases, but no full-scale escalation or official declaration of war at all. So, with that being said, we need to solve this problem that we have on a civil level, because our country is headed for civil war at this point. Virginia's boiling.
I can see that.
Virginia's about to boil over again about gun rights. There's a bunch of people on the right and left both promising civil war if their guy doesn't win in the next election. Some of the Democrats are actually calling for civil war while trying to take away everyone's guns. How are you going to have a civil war if your people aren't armed? People are fucking stupid.
They are.
So yeah, no, our country's headed for civil war. I estimate maybe another 20, 30 years tops and Western civilization's gonna be done. I hate to say it, but there's no way our civilization's gonna last much longer.
Nope.
Which is normal. Civilizations collapse. Because peace and decadence breed corruption, corruption breeds collapse. America got to be on the top of the food chain for so long, we thought we could do whatever. We let our politicians become career politicians. We let our news people become politicized. And to the point that we don't even read the article these days. We see a headline and freak out.
Yep.
Because no one reads anymore because too long didn't read.
Or we're too busy staring at TikToks all day.
And people wonder why I am the last to find out about anything because I don't watch the news.
I'm the last to know about anything.
Then I must be second to last. I live under a rock. I only watch YouTube and Hulu. And Netflix.
Yeah.
Anyways, we're about out of time for today.
Are we still at 2 concurrent viewers?
We got back up. We went down to 0 for a little bit. Now we're back up to 2. Now we're down to 1. I think the person just heard that and left. But anyways, don't forget to subscribe. You guys can come on over to our Patreon to give us some money. Be nice. I'm still trying to think. Depends on if I actually get myself back into this. Doing a series where people learn Japanese with me might be a little fun. And all that stuff. But right now, I don't know where I'm going with stuff at the moment. I'm dealing with a lot of personal stuff and other things with work and whatnot. Well, anyways, I'm Tony Sixwing here at Six Room Productions, and have a good one. Want to say bye, Laura?
Bye!